don't believe on repeat. And while it was lifting me, I was remembering back to a time of knowing. And that is in fact what I want to ignite you into this evening. And so let us further come now into this time. And so again, like we do here, let us breathe in deeply, breathe in through the nostrils, my friends, breathe in. And when you're ready, out, breathing out, exhaling. And again, like we did last time, please feel those feet on the ground. Feel your feet on the ground. Maybe even do a body scan, literally, physically touching the body temple. Maybe even now, as you touched your legs, now come back into your heart. Breathe in. We do this work on multiple levels. We do this work in our minds, yes, but also in our hearts and also in our bodies. And so I'd like us all to do that. I invite us, open your arms if it is comfortable for you, if you are able. And I need you all to create this together. I cannot speak at you at this time. I don't want to. We need to do this portion of the service even more together than what we have already been in this evening. So we imagine, please with me, holding this force field high. Holding this high, maybe in your mind's eye. It has been my experience. It has been my experience that even the best of us don't believe. It has been my experience that even the best of us don't believe in a world without war, in a world without policing, in a world without violence in any form. It has been my experience that even the best of us, when push comes to shove, please feel this with me. When push comes to shove, there is some hard line. And it's almost as though we're going, I'm going to keep this one for me. I can't believe that. I won't believe that. It has been my experience that this comes from a place of deep woe, a deep despair, a hopelessness, everything that the hope cycle is not about. It has been my experience that we are in a challenge for our lives. This stage of the hope cycle, the sixth stage of believe, is a demand. It is an initiation. See, the earlier stages of this hope cycle, and if you were not here, it's okay, just feel this with me. The earlier stages were more of a soft ask, an invitation out of the desert, an invitation into the water, an invitation into the jungle, a little bit more of a harder invitation into the cave to sit with God as you understand God and know God. Not so in this sixth stage. See, this is where there is an initiation. It isn't, can you believe? It isn't, will you believe? It is, do you believe? And so as we leave the cave and we are met with the wayshore, the some kind of guide, as we are met with this person, we are asked point blank, do you believe? And it's not, can you believe? Can you believe in a world? without violence. Can you believe that your life can change? Can you believe that this world will change? It's, do you believe? There's no more equivocating. There's no more soft asks or requests. This is a demand. And as we say here, the time is now. See, this sounds like a hard demand, but it's not. We have had plenty of time in this hope cycle to get our wits about us, to gain hope, to gain curiosity, to gain wonder, to lift our souls and our spirits out of the desert. We have had time in this cave. Pardon me, I skipped the jungle. In the jungle, to look at the forms of violence. And Manny, please put the definition of violence up in the chat. We have had time in the jungle to look at the forms of violence, the many forms of violence that impale us, that we have impaled ourselves upon. And in that cave, my friends, yes, we did sit with God. We got right with it. We looked at what needed to go so that we could grow. We sat in grief. We sat with our traumas. We were able to release it, where we were able to also integrate it and come alive into new experience and new beauty. But now this is different. This is different. See, where we're going, maybe no one has gone before. If we are going to create a revolution of love, then there can be no equivocating about believing that it exists, about believing in a world without the military, without the police, without the prison industrial complex, without the death penalty. You fill in the blank. And instead, in a world that is rooted and fruited in justice, in radical love. It has been my experience, my friends, that people say they believe it, and then you see their actions, you hear their words, you can even almost view their thoughts, and you see the cleavage, you see the disconnect. And that is due to socialization, it is due to indoctrination, it is due to life experiences that are painful, that create a deep hopelessness and despair in our hearts and in our souls. So yes, I understand, we understand that it is very hard to believe. I remember being at the Islamic Society of West Valley some years ago for an event, and there was a young 11-year-old girl sitting there. And at this event, she raised her hand and she said, "Is racism illegal? Is racism illegal?" See, her mind has not been fettered yet. She still believed. Just by asking that question, you can see the potency of spirit. You can feel it. And there's God calling again. There's spirit moving again on whatever level with that ding. Out of the mouths of babes is the point to that story. Out of the mouths of babes. Okay, this is very intense work. And I want to get us back to a place of true ignition into our knowing. Because as I described, the reasons that we may no longer believe as far as how we are indoctrinated, how we are socialized, our own life experiences, our own pain and our own wounds. There is yet another one that I need to amplify tonight. And that is the forgetting of knowing. That is the forgetting. No. That is the loss and the denying of your knowing. Let us go back. Go back to when you were very young. And I've said this to you, I've asked you this before at these services, and if you saw the Instagram video I did yesterday, you will know. I said, do you remember when you were very young and you had a sense of knowing? And it wasn't so much about what you knew or the things that you knew. It was just a deep sense of knowing, a divine knowing, maybe, an inner knowing, a deep knowing. It's interesting because I don't think it's often talked about, but boy, is it sure rebuked. Is it sure demonized? Is it sure abolished? I'm talking to the truth tellers right now at this service. Us truth tellers, us, all of us, I believe we're all truth tellers. You know that that knowing at some point was blotted or tried to be, maybe. Maybe you fought really hard. Maybe it didn't hit you. I know it hit me. Demonized, the knowing demonized, the knowing abolished, denied. And see, when that knowing gets rebuked enough, when it gets denied enough, when it gets demonized enough in you, yeah, you stop believing. You stop believing. You stop believing in a world where justice exists. You stop believing in signs like this. You stop believing that a radical love exists. You stop believing that a revolution of love can exist. You stop believing, as I said earlier with this example, that your life on an interpersonal or on a personal level can change. So it would seem to me that the answer is, first, to come back to our knowing. There's almost a wound as I'm sharing this. Remember, we are creating this together. As I'm sharing this with you, there is almost a deep chest wound that we can feel, that I can feel from all the times your knowing has been denied. All the times that innate knowing was not listened to, was not honored, was not seen as truth, as truth. Schopenhauer, the philosopher, talked about truth passing through stages. First off, it is ridiculed. Secondly, it is violently opposed. And in the third stage, it is accepted as self-evident. And so when you think of this, you realize, yeah, it's scary to reconnect to truth, to knowing. Think about truth tellers throughout history, our story. Think about those truth tellers that have stood relentlessly in their knowing, that were connected to their knowing. And what has happened? Victimization, martyrdom, demonization. So it's not just in our families of origin. No, it is societal, it is cultural, it is on and on in all of these many ways. But if we are truly going to create a revolution of love, then we cannot equivocate. We can equivocate no longer, I should say, when we are asked, do you believe? And the way that we can unequivocally say, I do believe, I believe, is by reconnecting to our knowing, and to never again gaslight oneself or someone else, and to never again accommodate or avoid hatred or violence in ourselves or someone else, and to unsubscribe from any system or structure of violence. Amen to this. These are the demands that we are being asked of or for. And so tonight we are on the precipice, standing on the precipice and being asked, do you believe? I don't know about you, but I believe. We don't have to understand how things are going to change. We don't have to know when it's all going to change. And again, this could be your personal life. It could be in the world, in this country. Forget that. Believe. Believe. So let us connect now. Let us connect now into that deep place. It is sometimes called the third eye point. And come back now, my friends, and maybe go back to a time when you were very young, when you were very small, and you just knew things. And this knowing, maybe you hid it because you didn't even know what it meant, but you knew it was there. And I pray that, I do pray this truly. I pray that was nurtured in you. And if I know anything, I bet all of us here have a story about the demonizing or the rebuttal or the denial of our knowing. And so let us remember that role. This is a brave space. And we commit to never repudiating, never rebutting, never denying someone's knowing, ever. Ever. No. If we are going to create this revolution of love, we have to believe and we have to absolutely commit to our knowing and also respecting the knowing of everybody, not only in this circle, on this Zoom, but on the Facebook and in the people that we meet. However, I have to add now, I have to add because, and it sounds like double talk. If someone is not connected and they are very disconnected and very far away from source, spirit, God, Allah, Jesus, Buddha, whatever, love, however one calls God with many names, and they are so disconnected that they are exhibiting violence and hatred in severe forms, and maybe what is called psychopathology, the pathos. We are not here to honor that. We are not here to give space to that. This is some big work, but we signed up for this. We are here. We are here now, living now, breathing now, creating the life lessons now. And we are not alone in this. You know, the lie is that we think that there isn't enough people who believe. There are plenty of people who do believe. I want us to just ignite a little bit more into our knowing tonight. And if that's all that you hear, ignite into your knowing tonight, so that you may live from a place of truth, and so that you may believe wholeheartedly. Yes, that I think is all. That's all. I want to repeat those three things, because this is the lookout point. When you're on the precipice and someone says, this figure, so to speak, says, do you believe? The way you can continue to say, I do believe, so we can make that ascension up to this next stage of love that awaits us, is by never again gaslighting. I said this earlier, never again gaslight. Never again gaslight yourself. Never again gaslight somebody else. I know that's a negative I never usually talk about in negatives. Going to tonight, never again gaslight. Number 2, never again accommodate or avoid hatred and violence. Never again, not doing it. And number 3, this is very important, unsubscribing from the systems and the structures of violence, constantly looking for it, noticing it, engaging it. I have sat with good people in interfaith circles, and I have seen them continue. And this is not a judgment. This is a higher, just a perspective that I've noticed. Good people still continuing to subscribe to ways of violence, to operating systems of violence. No more, no more. These are demands that are being asked of us. And we have the opportunity. We are not little kids. We have the opportunity as spiritual beings resonating with a higher power to, yes, never again. No longer gaslighting, no longer accommodating or avoiding, and no longer subscribing. If we screw up, which we probably will, we begin again. We begin again. Beginner's mind, very Zen. We begin again. Do you believe? Do you believe? Let's believe together, my friends. Come back. Ignite tonight into your inner knowing, the highest knowing. You know what it is. We know. Remember, the truth does set us free. And so it is. Bless you. Amen. Amen to that part. Closing up that part.